Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase podcast. I'm your host, Jill Hart, and with us today is Dorell, the dancing goddess who empowers professional women to manifest their dream relationship, starting with the one they have with themselves, using the soul love method. I love that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really, really excited to be here.
I am excited to hear all about what you're doing for people and how you got started, because it's kind of an interesting way that you're working with people, and I'd like to know the story behind that.
Yes. So, hello everybody. It's so good to be here. And whenever you engage with this, like just know that it's the perfect time. One of the biggest things that I'd like to share as far as how I got started is I come from a long line of healers and medicine women from Colombia and Venezuela. So I actually got my start as a psychic. I was doing oracle readings and energy healing, which I still do and incorporate in my coaching business. But I kept seeing that the common theme that people would ask me about was love. And when I started this business back in 2009, I felt like um, such an imposter because my own relationships were such a mess. I spent, a lot of time sorting through different, relationships that all pointed to the fact that the common denominator was me, right? And when they fell apart, it was really easy to blame the other people. And really, I had to learn to love and trust myself, which is the foundation of what I help others with. So that's how I began. And I love empowering and holding space for powerful women who, maybe you've figured out your career space, you feel like a rock star in every area except love, and you feel like a failure and you're just wondering if you're supposed to be alone. I am here for you, and I could say, yes, you can have it all. And it really is about shifting your energy and coming back to yourself in a nutshell.
I love that. And it's so important for people to be themselves before they're trying to be part of a relationship with other people.
Absolutely. And, just full disclosure, I am married. I'm happily married. And I got married later in life. So I got married when I was 40. And I never thought, right, that I even wanted that because I was so afraid, right, of repeating the same patterns that I saw growing up and throughout my 20s and 30s. And the man that I am married to is amazing. He is grounding. He sees me for me, and he lets me be my crazy goddess self, even though he doesn't understand it all the time. And we were talking before we recorded this, and I think it's important to bring up, like, it's not about two halves make a whole, kind of like the rom-coms will tell you. And it's really about two wholes coming together to create something beautiful in the world and amplify each of your individual energies. And so if you can get yourself to that whole space, you'll notice the caliber of partners that you're attracting are very different. Your nervous system is going to be relaxed and open. And when something doesn't go your way or you feel rejected, it's going to be like, oh, well, their loss. I'm still me and I still love me. And that's going to help you attract the high value person that you really want.
I love that. And I've noticed over the years, I've been married, I told you, for 30 years, and I wasn't always in the space that I'm in now. I've had my trauma and drama and was sure it was all his fault. But as I've grown and come to know myself and love myself and appreciate him, my husband, for who he is, and allowed him to just be who he is,
Yes.
because I didn't have to change him. He doesn't have to be any way for me, except that he can't shave his head in front of the mirror in my living room. He must go to the bathroom. Do it there. But beyond those little things, it's he can just be who he is because I can be who I am. And in the process of learning to be myself and allowing him to be himself, it's opened up space for us to have a much more fun relationship. It's not
Mm.
all about like, I don't feel like I have to be his mother or I have to, be in charge. I'm a kind of take charge sort of person, but it's like, I'm open. You can do whatever you want and we can just have fun together. And it doesn't have to be always an agenda.
Yes, I know. And it's so interesting because when you can get into that space of allowing the other person to be exactly who they are, you give the relationship permission to breathe and to be organically growing instead of trying to strong arm it. I talk a lot about, feminine and masculine polarity and energy dynamics. And it's, often what I see is, we just aren't given the tools to relax into our feminine. And being your feminine doesn't necessarily mean you have to put on the lipstick and the dress and like talk or be a certain way, but it's bringing out that level of trust and that emotional softness that so often we guard against in the workplace, in the business world too.
And it also allows your spouse who does have feminine qualities, because we both genders
Have both energy.
embody all the energies.
Yep.
And when you allow them to move into both types of energy, and you leave them space for that, then they can in turn nurture you at times when you need nurturing, instead of always being, usually it's the woman who's the mom and you're always in the nurturing role. But it's really training to always be in that position and to never be able to just accept it's love in a way from other people, and let them express themselves and their feminine side and their softer, caring, empathetic um potential that everybody has. But we usually tell guys, no, don't cry and suck it up and you got to be strong. Well, it's really exhausting to be strong all the time.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It definitely is. And I have to say, like, it's so liberating to oscillate between the two energies organically, right? And to be able to notice, like, which one am I in and which one is my partner in, and can we dance with each other? And sometimes the situation does call for like a lot of focus and a lot of decision making, which is masculine. And at the same time, right, there's times in a relationship where it's okay to not know what's next, and it's okay to just sink into the power of the present moment and enjoy the beauty that unfolds when you're not trying to control.
Exactly. And to leave space for the not having to control. Some of us, me, I
Me
I
too. I had to learn this.
I had to learn this, because if there was a vacuum, I felt like it needed to be filled. We can't just sit with this space. It's got to be like, we've got to be on target. But if you can just learn to relax and sometimes just let things unfold. It's a lesson my husband did actually teach me. Because I used to want him to make decisions. Like, you have to decide right now. And sometimes he would tell me, we can just wait and see how it works out. Because it doesn't really matter how it works out. We could be
Mhm.
surprised. And I've learned to embrace that in my life in some areas. And it's made my life so much richer and enjoyable because you can enjoy the moment without having to worry about what the next moment's bringing and the one after that. Because you're not living in the now. You're always living in "Oh, I can't wait for this next thing to happen."
And I don't know about you, but the moment that I finally really got that, like, I'm not that special, like, I don't actually have to do everything or like try to manage the universe. Like,
Yeah.
oh, really? Like, my worth isn't like equated to how much I manage or how much I produce or don't produce. It's like I just get to be and like enjoy life. That's okay. It sounds so simple, but like I think sometimes we are programmed from different places in the world or are growing up, and it has to be equated to what you're doing. Your value is like, and your lovability is based on what you do for other people or what you produce. And it's like, no, those are effects of how you're being.
And you're allowed to say no. I
Yeah.
mean, I grew up thinking, and this is a really silly thing, but I grew up thinking that for holidays, it was my responsibility as the mom to have, all the fine china out and throw a big dinner party and cook all the food and just clean the house. And it was just like it was so much. And I've come to realize, mostly because I go over to my daughter-in-law's house, we eat on paper plates. They have
Yes.
this huge table my son bought it's really a Viking table. It's enormous. It takes up there's two living rooms in that house, and they have one living room that they live in, and the other one is their dining room. And
Wow.
it's like maybe 20 feet long, the
Like
room.
a Game of Thrones scene.
It is, and we can all the whole family and all the kids can sit around the table. And I used to live in that house, and we had like a small portion of it was where we used to have the dining room table, but he made the whole room the dining room table. There's a fireplace in there. It's so cool. But we eat on paper plates and we use plastic utensils, and everybody cooks and brings food, and it's fun. And we play games, and it's not like I don't have to worry about people breaking plates. I can enjoy the grandkids, and it's just like we're
Well,
having a good time.
I think what you're hitting at too is like you know your values, and there's the real value and spirit of this time is connection. It's not about show. I mean, some people really get off on the fancy decorations and the perfectly set table, and like if that's you, like awesome. But it's about the
As long as you're
people.
doing it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Doing it for you, not doing it out of obligation or out of guilt or out of, well, who's going to get mad at me if I don't? Then you get to actually enjoy it and not be resentfully washing dishes.
Yeah. It, it just, I am so grateful to my daughter-in-law for teaching me that. It's just like,
She's like, we're not doing
oh,
that.
yeah.
Everybody get buffet style, get your plate. I'm not going to babysit you. Just don't, ruin my
Mhm.
furniture, but come as you are.
Yeah. Yeah. She doesn't even care if you wreck her furniture. I mean, she's just so laid back. I love all of my extended family. All of the partners my children have picked are just like these amazing human beings. And you can't expect anything less because, my kids are amazing human beings.
Yes. Well, they have an
So,
amazing mom.
I don't think I had a whole lot to do with it. They just turned out the way they did. I was surprised. Uh, so how do you actually coach people? I know that you have a coaching program, so let's
Yeah.
talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So the method that I use is called the Soul Love method, and it's based on the principle, actually, four pillars that I take clients through. And
Mhm.
again, the intention is to help them to manifest their dream relationship, even if they're in a partnership already, right? It's about just deepening that energy and that joy. Or if they don't want to be in a relationship, it's about themselves, right? How can they be the best version of themselves? So the first pillar is trust. And really developing that sense of trust with yourself again. A lot of times we've got past experiences that are just kind of hampering how we show up in the world that we don't even realize. So, a lot of my work and the reason people hire me is I'm a master at identifying precisely what is blocking somebody, blind spots, so to speak. And we do massive energy clearing and up leveling in that first pillar. And then the second one is clarity and vision. So, it's like now that you're not hampered by this stuff, you can see clearly what it is that you deserve, that you want, right? And also create a vision that you can stand behind that's going to help you make decisions, it's going to help you show up the way you want to show up, etc. And then the third one is embodiment. So this is where, I teach feminine energy principles. We actually will put it into practice out in the real world. I'll give them exercises to feel the difference in their body when they are tapping into themselves and when they're kind of coming at something from their head or fear or wishful thinking. And then the fourth one is receiving and allowing. So, said another way, celebrating and surrendering to the process and looking at what comes in to your world. I liken it to a queen, right, on her throne, and people are bestowing gifts at her feet, and it doesn't mean she has to take all the gifts, but she's not turning anybody away. She's just kind of sovereign in her kingdom. So a lot of times clients have shared with me that when they start the program, they're like, these princesses that are pissed off, and they end the program and they're like the queen goddess that's just comfortable with herself and commanding in a very feminine way and just enjoying life again. So in a nutshell, that is what I do.
I like that a lot. It's such a needed thing out there because so many women I know struggle with, who am I? And a lot of times when you get to like into your 40s and your kids are finally, launching on their own,
Teenagers,
um,
yep.
you're like, okay, who am I finally? And what am I doing in this relationship? Do I even want this relationship? Do I know who I am?
Yes. Who am I when all of the distraction, not that kids are distraction, but they kind of can be, right? Like all of the obligations or responsibilities that I had and the identity that I had up until now is kind of obsolete or changing. And then that's an exciting time because you get to redefine yourself, you get to reconnect, and um, those fears are normal. It's like, well, what if we have nothing to say to each other? Like, if we're not talking about the kids or the dogs, like, what do we have in common? And like questioning things. But it's like, okay, this is just another evolution of this relationship and yourself. And again, let's see what happens when we're both being truthful.
And giving each other space and recognizing that, it doesn't always have to be the same. It's never always the
And
same.
yeah, and actually, it's more fun that it's not the same. Like my husband is um, pretty opposite of me in a lot of ways, and we don't have a whole lot in common on paper, right? So like logically, it's like, why are those two together? But we have a heart connection and a soul connection, and we have shared values that run very deep and are not something that I ever had to negotiate or over explain because we vibrate there. And so it's also about kind of, again, this is part of the second step, which is vision, like knowing what your lifestyle is and what you desire, and going out, with people on a fourth or fifth date that really kind of harmonize with that instead of trying to like negotiate yourself and like put yourself into their life, which is what I see a lot of women doing.
Yeah. And then when you've tried to fit yourself into that life, you find yourself like always having to be the one that says, "Oh, I'm sorry," or "Oh, I'll get that," or it makes it more difficult to set boundaries
Yes.
unless you come in with your boundaries. I mean, I speak from experience. I didn't have any boundaries when I
Same.
first started my relationship with my husband. And and I wanted him to be a certain way, but because he was a truck driver and he was gone most of the time, when he did come home, I could wait on him hand and foot because it was like 3 days a month. The rest of the time, I did what I wanted to do. I lived my life. I found out who I was. And when he retired, he's been retired for a couple of years now. And we had to have some discussions about, how he was going to have to live his own life now that he was home, which sounds silly, but when somebody lives over the road all the time and they're gone, they don't have friends in the community and they don't have things
Mm.
that they do every day because normally they just wake up in the truck and they start driving to wherever they're going. It's a weird life, but that's the life he led for 28 years. And so when he came home and he had to start participating in life at home where laundry has a schedule, things have to get done in the house, and he needs to be part of that. I can't just be doing everything, and I can't make all the plans, and I can't, so he goes to the gym 3 days a week, and he goes to the hot springs by himself several times a week. And he's turned the garage into what he calls his office.
Awesome.
He
Very
insulated it
important.
because we live in a very cold area, but we have our spaces and we have rituals that, at night he likes to stay downstairs. He's kind of a night owl, and I go to sleep early. So I go upstairs and I watch television and play with the dog, and it works. But he comes up at 7:30 and brings me my tea.
Oh, I love that so much. And what I hear there is like you guys have practiced the art of interdependence,
Yes.
right? Like you're not codependent and like changing your life to fit his because you don't feel like you can get your needs met otherwise. And you're not so independent that, there's like two units, but like you don't communicate ever. So I love that. And I have a similar dynamic with my husband. I am the big traveler. I love it. Um, I get off on it, and he is fine with seeing his family twice a year and maybe one other small trip with me. And the man is good to watch the dogs and hold down the fort. And I'm like, I love you, bye. He's like, I love you too. See you in a week. But we do come together as well and enjoy things like cooking and not expecting him to be on my rhythm all the time. Because the fact
Yes.
is, I don't know how you feel, but like the traditional marriage thing never worked for me. Like where I was expected to like cook and clean and like be with them 24/7. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, is something wrong with me? Like, I'm a very, very free spirit at heart. And so I needed to find a partner who loved that. Like, didn't just like tolerate it, but loved it.
Yeah. And there's somebody like that for everybody.
Yes, there is. And if what I just described, you're like, that sounds like my nightmare, Deanna. I want to be home with them all the time. Like, you'll find that person that loves that too.
Yeah, you will. But at first, if you have to know who you are and what you want, you
Yeah,
need to know what you want your life to look like. And then you can find that other person. The other person will just be attracted to you because they're going to be like, "Oh, I love all these things about you." And your husband probably likes that you're gone sometimes because he probably
yes,
likes being home alone.
he
Y-
loved it. Like he's like, I'm gonna miss you. And I'm like, don't put on that act. I know you won't, but I love you.
Yeah, I love you for saying that. And it makes me feel like I know it's going to be okay because you're getting something out of this too. It's not like I'm abandoning you.
Right.
Eh,
Right. That's a perfect example, right? Of like codependency versus interdependence. There's an acceptance, and I'm getting something out of traveling, and he's getting something out of me not being there 24/7.
And as a person who is naturally introverted. I really don't need to be around people very much. It's I've had to learn to be extroverted, and people think that, I can just be around people all the time, that I really can't. And I like having time to myself every night, just several hours of just time alone. It I need it to recharge. And my husband likes it too. He likes having time where he's just doing the things that he likes to do by himself.
Yes. Yes. So like for all the for all the women listening and men too, it's like if you want to manifest this dream relationship, make sure you're cultivating your own joy now. Like really get clear on what brings you joy, what lights you up, and don't downplay any part of yourself. You know, for me, it was about not downplaying my spiritual side. I was like, I can't negotiate that anymore. If they're not comfortable with me using crystals and doing my little new moon thing, like, I can't be in this.
And they don't have to participate in it,
No.
but they just need to leave you enough space so that you can.
Yes, exactly. But what
And
I
they're
see
really,
so often is like clients cutting themselves off at the knees before they even get a commitment from the person, right? It's like, well, he doesn't like this kind of thing, so I'm gonna like not talk about it. And it's like, but you don't even have an exclusive agreement yet, and why, right? Why would you downplay part of yourself? So there's that inner belief that like if it doesn't work out with this person, then like there's not going to be anybody else.
it's always someone else.
There's always someone else.
And they may not even be the person that you think that you're expecting, but there's always going to be someone else. And you just need to be the person that you want to be and wait. Go out and do stuff. You're probably not going to find them if you're home all the time and you don't connect with other people, but you will find other people if you're going to go to the grocery store, right? Maybe you won't have your groceries delivered, but uh, uh, get involved in activities in your community. Do the things that you like to do. If you like to hike, join communities that are doing hikes. If you
Mhm.
like to do pottery or you're artistic, go and join a course and do pottery, and you'll meet other people doing pottery. And you know, you'll meet men and women, but your ideal partner could be in that group.
Right. Or the people that you connect with in that could know somebody to introduce you to. So it's not always about the direct connection. It's like if you can see the world as like from that lens of the universe wants to like give this to me,
Mhm.
they want to support me, then anybody, it can come through anybody in any situation. So you might as well be enjoying your life. Um, And I also want to say like a word about online dating. So I know this a lot of women, right, especially in their 40s and 50s, especially if you're like coming out of divorce or you're feeling like, oh my God, I don't even, the landscape has changed. I'm scared to go, go online. It's just another way to show the universe that you got some skin in the game. So even though you may meet him at yoga or at Trader Joe's, still put yourself on at least one app that you align with and just widen the pool for yourself because you never know.
Yeah. Have conversations with people. But if you're dating online, I have one caveat about that. Make sure that you meet in a public place and you have backup. Get your buddy to go somewhere near you just to make sure that you're safe. It,
Mhm.
it just be smart. Don't I've heard too many horror stories about my dating to just be like,
And like I have a whole section. So for anybody that likes to read, do people read anymore? You can check out my book, The Dating Mirror. And there's a whole chapter on there about online dating. And like one of the tips I can share with everyone is like, don't like let an email or like chat relationship, right, continue without meeting in person, or at least like a video call, right? This is where you can get emotionally entangled. This is where like the scam energy comes in. So set your boundaries early. And as you know, a dating coach myself, I can say like first three interactions can be what they are, right, in chat, and then take it to an in-person meeting. If they're not willing to meet in person or get on a video call, then you know you may not want to be dating them anyway. So it just shows that you're serious and that you're not just kind of looking to fill an emotional void without actually having a commitment.
Yeah, and there's just different levels of commitment, and you can test the waters, but I just be safe and be smart about online dating, online connections of any kind, because you just never know with people unless you're, I mean, I run into all kinds of people doing what I do. And some people, most people are like, they're totally connected to some form of reality. There's like this 0.5% out there, though, that are just like, they may seem normal in your first interactions with them, but really they're very far out there, not closely tethered to the planet.
Yeah, so, you know, in short, just, you know, making sure that you're feeding your own joy, cultivating your own life, and trusting that the more that you can, right, put yourself out there, connect with the things that make you happy and the people that you love, like it's going to send a
Yeah.
certain energy out. And then yes, when you're ready to date, or even if you're in a relationship and you want to deepen it, it's about expectations, defining standards and boundaries. And if you need help with that, like I'm here for you.
And how do people get in touch with you? And how does your coaching program look? Is it one-on-one? Do you do group coaching? Is it
Yeah, so I have a one-on-one program. It's 90 days. It's called Soulmate, and we would meet 3 times a month on Zoom. And you also get some WhatsApp chat support because I know, right, when we're making big changes, sometimes things can come up and you need to process before like hopping on the phone. So I make that available. And then I also have a group called the Goddess Circle Collective. It is, we meet once a month on Zoom, usually during a new moon, and set intentions together. Everybody in there is like minded, high vibe, and committed to a life of joy and growth. So you are welcome to check out my website at thedancinggoddess.com. And I'm also on all of the socials under my name, Deanna Dorell. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
that is awesome. And I know that you offer a couple of things to help people get started. You want to talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, so I have a 5-day email course that I created called Soulmate, Trust Yourself, Love Yourself. And it doesn't matter what relationship status you are in, it's really about the inner world and giving you a taster for what it's like to make changes, like big changes that we look at in one on one, but for free. So every day you'll get a new email to your inbox once you sign up for that. And then I also have another freebie on my main website, which is 7 things that block your heart's desire. So these are things I noticed over the years that tend to block manifesting, particularly around relationships. So you want to identify what those are so that you can start plugging those leaks and changing your energy now.
Oh, I love that. So you can find those linked in the show notes. And also, we'll put the link to Deanna's website in the show notes so you can reach out to her. And even if you're in a long-term relationship, it's always good to like check in with somebody that's also, kind of on that path. So I think your community is a great idea, and it's not just for single people out there.
No, not at all. Wherever you are, if you even just listening to me, if you're like, oh, I kind of vibrate with her, I don't know why, like send me an email. We can hop on an intro call, no charge. Let's just see what's going on in your life and see how I can help you.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for joining me today. What's the one thing you hope the audience takes away from our conversation?
Thank you for having me. So, the biggest thing I want to leave you all with is that you are enough. You are enough just as you are, right? There's nothing that you need to prove in this world in order to be lovable. And when you can live from that space and be that energy, you will be surprised at what gets magnetized to you right now. So, hand on your heart, if you want to do an exercise with me, just take a deep breath into I am enough. That's it. And so it is.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.